Hello, welcome to Talk Rugby Gamers match preview of Leicester City against West Ham United. Gonzo, let's kick off as always. Can I get your thoughts on the Foxes, please?
Yeah, I mean, they're on a bit of a dip, really, but only compared to their recent form. When I say their recent form, the last 6-7 years or whatever it's been, Leicester have done remarkable things. They really have. And I think when you judge it against that, you'd say they were doing poorly. And I'm pretty sure during that time, they've probably got a few new fans in that time. And those fans are probably thinking, hold on a second, what's going on here? But they're a good club, Geo. But I would prefer to compare them against the time that I've been around. And that is that Leicester are up and down. That they are a yo-yo club. So actually to have the stability has been really good. They had a really nice, they had a period a few years ago. They had Gary Lineker there. They had Alan Smith there. Good club, and then a dip. And I remember Martin O'Neill coming in. I think he won the League Cup possibly twice with them. Had a really good team up there. And then they had another dip again, and now they're back again. And I don't know, because I don't have anything to do with Leicester, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brendan Rodgers is under some criticism at the moment, and possibly, I don't know, I'm inventing a scenario here that I don't know exists, but maybe some are questioning whether he's the right man for the job and stuff like that. But I think a good club, a good manager, under a little bit of a difficult time. But it's only difficult because they won't qualify for the Champions League this year. They're still a really good, well-run club. I think they need some new players, and I'm pretty sure they'll get them this summer because they always seem to recruit well.
Yeah, I completely agree with all that, actually. They're going through a bad bit of form in this small period, but they're also going through a bad season, if you like, for Leicester by their own high standards. And I think in a weird way, it's a compliment at the time of recording. Well, it's the time of recording. There's no game tonight, but obviously the Saturday game is before we kick off on Sunday. But time of recording, the 12th in the Premier League. And when you think Leicester City 12, you immediately think, crikey, what's happened to them this season? And that's actually a compliment to Leicester as to how well they've done over the last few seasons and stuff. And it is a bit of a write-off of the season. I think between now and the remainder of the season, I think the best thing to do would be for Brendan Rodgers to try and work out a few things, work out what he wants to do in the summer for himself as well as a team, but with the assumption he's going to remain as Leicester manager going into next season. Who's part of his plans? Is there any youngsters he can get blooded in between now and then the season? Maybe try and play Patson Daka up front as much as possible to get him into the striker role, because I think that's maybe part of the problem. I think they've missed Jimmy Vardy this season, and the expectation and hopes was that Daka would essentially just do what Jimmy Vardy's done. Had some really good games for Leicester, but he's also had some games where you barely notice him, if you like, and he's just not quite as good as Jamie Vardy yet. He may go on to be as good as Jimmy Vardy. We will have to wait and see. But I think between now and the rest of the season, I think Leicester could do with getting him in, just blood him in there. They've now got Justin back from injury. Get him up to full fitness in the right back area or the left back, wherever we wish to choose him. Keep the likes of Luke Thomas in the team, Amartey's in the team. Keep him in there. Just get these youngsters some experience. Work out your best formation. Every time I see Leicester, it looks like they play a different formation. I don't know what they're going to do on Sunday. It might be 4 at the back, might be 3 at the back. If there's 4 at the back, it might then become sort of like a 4-2-3-1. It might be a 4-3-2-1. I don't know. That can be good when you're changing formation pretty much every game. They've got a new centre-back partnership every single game.
Yeah.
And for a well-run club, which they are, and stability is the aim of the game, they've done that. The training facilities and all that look fantastic. They seem to be a very injury-prone club. There's always injuries at Leicester. Whenever you look at it, there's always 4 or 5 first-team players out. And last season, I sort of praised Rodgers and Leicester for dealing with that and having quite a good season despite all the injuries. But now it's almost gone on too long. I think you can have a freak season with injuries, but when you're on like your 3rd season with big injuries, that's a problem. That's no longer a coincidence or anything like that. That's something wrong at the club. And I think they need to get that sorted out, because it doesn't help anyone. You know, we watched them play Liverpool last night, and Didi's playing centre-back. You don't want to be having to do that. That's your best defensive midfielder, one of the best defensive midfielders in the Premier League, playing centre-back because your other centre-backs are out injured. Not a great season. But what do you make of Brendan Rodgers then? Because there is some criticism from the Leicester fans, but I just feel, Gonzo, as a neutral, I'm waiting for him to leave. I just feel like he's not there long-term. Every time a big job comes up, whether it's Tottenham, Man United in summer, he's linked with it. And I feel like almost it's him that's linking him with that job, or it's his agent or someone that's linking him with that job, as if I get the impression that he probably wants it.
Well, he can't afford to have an off-season if he wants that big job, because memories are short in football in that sense. I don't mean you're only as good as your last result, but in terms of managerial stuff, if he come down from Celtic, which he did, wins lots of stuff up there, comes down, wins the cup with Leicester, great. Qualifies them for European football again, great. Does that another season, then people are looking at him thinking, well, okay, he's a real contender, because he took Liverpool really, really close, of course. So however, if he drops off, and Leicester drop off, and actually they don't look quite as good as Wolves or West Ham or whoever else the case may be, and actually, it don't take much. So at the moment, David Moyes' stock is higher than Brendan Rodgers, because we're higher than him in the league. We're in the knockout stage of Europe, and blah blah blah, so on and so forth. He just needs to concentrate on what he's doing. He's got a philosophy. Every manager, you would hope, has a philosophy of some sort. We may like it, we may not like it, but he's got a philosophy, and I'm not so sure. I'm not sure any of those big clubs are hiring Brendan Rodgers at all, I've got to say. So his best bet is exactly a club of the standard and the stature that he's at, which, as you remarked on those magnificent facilities, they've clearly got funds that they can buy players. What was Daka? 25, 30 million? You can clearly go out and buy these players. He has been hampered. I mean, it's funny. I watched that game last night, and when I look at Leicester, when we've done previews in the past, I'll often talk about Leicester. The composition of their midfield is almost a perfect balance. You've got your stopper, you've got your intelligent playmaker and passer, and then you've got your dribbler. Obviously, I'm talking about Ndidi, Tielemans, and your dribbler is obviously James Maddison. So I think they've got all the facets there. And then when you look at that midfield, I know he came on as a sub, Tielemans, but you look at that midfield, you say one of them was at centre back, one of them was playing, and they're missing the heartbeat of their team and what really makes them tick. So he needs to do what he can, get that going. I'm sure they'll go up the league, but he needs to concentrate on Leicester and not keep looking at his watch thinking, when a Real Madrid come in calling, because they probably won't.
He may be doing that. It's just the impression I get as a neutral, that you just think to all the big jobs, and it almost feels a little bit fragile with him in Leicester. I think, in a weird way, having no European football might benefit Leicester City next season, not having that distraction, that extra games, particularly when you have injury problems. More games is not a good thing. And actually, a season away from it, if you can keep a hold of all the big players, there's always going to be rumours linking the likes of Tielemans to other clubs. Rightly so, he's a top player. If you can keep a hold of them, make some shrewd additions, because they have been pretty good in the transfer market for a few years, Leicester. They've found those nuggets. Even if you go back to the title-winning season, they're the big examples. But since then, I think they've added really well. The likes of Tielemans and Daka, I think, is a good signing. Will come good for Leicester. If they can just do that, I think they'll go on to have another good season. I think this is just a blip of a season. And, like I said, they're sitting 12th. It's not a disaster. They're not Newcastle. They're not Everton. I don't think, in terms of stature of a club, I don't think there's much between Everton and Leicester City. But one of them is just outside the relegation zone as we speak, because they're having a bad season. Another one, I think, is having a bad season. They're sitting 12th. Not the end of the world, is it really? I think the embarrassment to Nottingham Forest last weekend certainly didn't help, though. Anyway, before we get on to West Ham, I want to point in the direction of the OneFootball app, which is completely free to download. The link is below, as Gonzo as pointing. This is where you can keep up to date with the latest going on at your club. Doesn't matter who you support, get it, download it. It'll ask you for your favourite club. Then it takes the sort of algorithms of social media and applies it to football. It gives you what you want to see. You choose what you follow. So as a West Ham fans, we only have to look at West Ham United news. As Leicester City fans, you only have to look at injury news and any other news to do with Leicester City, and to keep up to date with all going on in the Premier League as well. When you click on the league table, if you're a Leicester fan, you're going to have to scroll a little bit, but your team's there somewhere, just in the bottom half, unfortunately. But it's a completely... Leicester fans definitely downloading this, aren't they? It's a completely free app, and it is the best football app for the football fan. That's mine and Gonzo's opinion, though. Links in description and the pinned comments. Now, Gonzo, last question on Leicester City. Players your mayor, please.
Oh, I just mentioned 3 of them.
I'm about to say, why are you just acting surprised? It happens in every video.
I don't know. I looked at them actually yesterday, Geo, and it is a mishmash. I looked at players like Albrighton was in there, and he's done his stuff. Never played for Brighton, funnily enough, which is a bit odd with a name like that, isn't it? You'd sort of make sure you went there. Not only am I not all Brighton, I'm not even partially Brighton. So I was looking at the team. Lookman, Dewsbury, Hall, Samir. Actually, I think Samir will be a good player, but I just looked at it. I thought, it ain't particularly great. I like the winger, Harvey Barnes. I think he's a good player as well. Sounchu used to be good, but apparently not anymore. And I like Pereira, but again, he's often nowhere to be seen. So, but I do like
Daka. Back from a broken leg, to be fair.
Well, that's no excuse. I do like Patson Daka, and clearly he's very fast. I like him. I would have liked West Ham to have signed him, but look, there's a lot of good players Leicester have got. They just can't seem to get many of them on the pitch at the moment for reasons that you said.
Yeah, Leicester contain a lot of players I really like, actually. I've been a fan of Harvey Barnes for a while. I think if David Moyes basically picked his dream team of Premier League players that were realistic, so he's not allowed any Man City players or Man United players unless they're like reserve players. I think Harvey Barnes should be in contention for the left wing role in David Moyes' starting 11, actually, in his Premier League dream team. I think Harvey Barnes is exactly what Moyes would love. That hard-working, direct player that's quite fast, has an eye for a goal, can create as well. I think he's got everything that David Moyes loves. I really like him too. Tielemans has been one of my favourite players in Premier League for a few seasons now. Started the season in sensational form. He's dipped a little bit. The last few games I've watched him, he's not been quite as impressive. And I think the mishmash from Brendan Rodgers last night against Liverpool, was ahead of our game, because obviously we play Tuesday, they play Thursday, Sunday, so it's a very quick turnaround for Leicester. I think he's probably had one eye on the West Ham game, and hence why he didn't start Barnes. He did start Tielemans, and he probably thought, I'm going to keep them for the more winnable fixture out of the two against West Ham. It's good to see James Justin back as well. I thought he was on the verge of the England squad, actually, when he got injured. And when he did get that horrific injury, it was just such a shame. It's a bit like the Harvey Elliott one at Liverpool. You don't like any player getting injured, but especially youngsters that are sort of really progressing in football, making their way up the football ladder, if you like, and they've got it all going for them. Then, bam, they get injured. And James Justin was one of those. It's good to see him back on the pitch. For Leicester City as well. Anyway, let's talk about West Ham. Gonzo, I'm going to put you on the spot straight away. Kurt Zouma, do you want to see him start or not?
Yeah, I do. I do want to see him start. I think. I just do. I mean, I think he is receiving a punishment. I do think he's receiving a punishment. I've got into more detail in video about it, but he's going to get booed. That's all. I think it's all part of it. I don't see any reason now. I think they having not done it, you've got to do it on the first game. If you don't do it then, I think it almost looks a bit pathetic. Oh, sorry, we'll ban him now. We meant to ban him for 3 games at the start, but now we know how upset everybody is. We'll ban him now. He's lost his sponsorship deal. He's been banned by. He won't get selected for France. He's had the embarrassment of having the RSPCA turn up at his house to take his animals away. He's very unpopular. I just don't, and actually, I was actually quite impressed with all that stuff. Rightly so, by the way. But I was impressed with how he actually stood up and took it. I think Zouma's probably accepted he's going to be unpopular for a while. I think he's probably accepted he's going to be booed, and so just pick him. Just pick him now.
I agree. And for what it's worth, for clarity, Gonzo didn't want him to start against Watford. I didn't want him to start against Watford on Tuesday, but he was. And I think that's what I agree with you. That's changed my mind on it to some extent. I think if you're going to do that decision, stick with it and don't let the sponsors, if you like, dictate the team selection on Sunday. Now, just before we went live, Gonzo won't have heard this. David Moyes did his press conference ahead of the games. I've actually got comments here from David Moyes. I'm going to read out what David Moyes has said in regards to selecting Kurt Zouma ahead of Sunday afternoon. He said, it's different views on should it's different views on should be available or not. We as a club took the decision that we made him available, and I stand by that. I don't think a club could have taken more action any quicker. We're finding maximum wages. He's getting some help. We're trying to do as much as we can as a club to help him. I think the RSPCA are going to provide us with some courses to help him and make sure that Kurt's getting better and understanding it. We're going to do everything as a club that we possibly can to resolve it. I've had over 1,000 games and I've never treated any player differently. If it's regarding disciplinary reasons, everybody's treated the exact same. Later on in the press conference, David Moyes went on to say, regarding Zouma, I'd say right away is that we're completely upset by it all at the well. I'm just reading what's on the official website. It doesn't make sense, but it's on this official website. There's nobody more disappointed than me or the club itself. We're really sorry we've upset West Ham supporters. For the West Ham supporter disappointed by it, I've got to say we're really disappointed by it as well. We're making sure animal charities will benefit from it. It's a terrible situation. Nobody's hiding from it, but we're trying to make some good come from bad. So basically, David Moyes has confirmed Kurt Zouma is available for selection on Sunday afternoon. Now, we're going to do our hypothetical 11s now, Gonzo. This is where me and Gonzo pick the 11s we want to see, not what we think David Moyes will do. Fabianski, we've been flip-flopping. We chose Fabianski. He played quite well against Watford. He stays in goal for this week anyway.
I think he has to, doesn't he? Let's be fair. He was called on.
Excellent.
3 times and was very good. And his distribution was a bit quicker as well, Geo. So, I think we like him. We like him in for that one.
Right, the back four. How would you like to see us line up? Because I would like to see a change in there. I think I would like to see, I'll be honest, I want to see Ben Johnson come in place of Vladimir Soufal. I thought Soufal was poor against Watford. And it wasn't a one-off. He was really poor against Man United, which was the Premier League game prior, which he got hooked. He was poor prior to that against Leeds United as well. And I just think he's just out of form. He's having a really bad season, actually. But at the minute, he had a bad January. He's having a bad February thus far. Ben Johnson wasn't great against Kidderminster Harriers, but in the Premier League, I think Ben Johnson's done nothing wrong, Gonzo.
No, I actually thought he wasn't one of the culprits against Kidderminster. I thought he was unlucky to be hooked at half-time, as I've said. I think he should have actually gone to the right, and it should have been done there. Look, when Soufal was in his first season with us, people were saying, "Is this guy one of the best right backs in the league?" Look, you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold and whatever Carl Walker was playing or whatever. There were 2 or 3 at the top clubs, but then people are saying after that, is this guy's as good as anyone? And I think he was. He's way below that at the moment. Way below that. Which does bring Johnson into the equation. I'm going to say Johnson gets in because I think he's crap. Because Johnson has played well. I think this is also going to be an interesting game, particularly in terms of how Leicester play as well. And he's got that sort of thou shalt not pass thing about him, Ben Johnson, as well. And I think that might be quite useful. And whilst it's nice to have the overlap there, and it really is, because even if Soufal's not playing well, he still does provide an overlap. Bowen does such good work from that side. I don't think we'll lose an awful lot from that side. So I would play Johnson as well. And obviously, just to answer your question, it would be Dawson, Zouma and Cresswell.
I completely agree. Right, moving into midfield, Rice, Souček, and how else would you like to see us line up?
Well, Souček needs a good game here, actually. Yeah. So he really does, particularly if what Brendan Rodgers is thinking of doing is what you suggested is saving that midfield, which we spoke so highly of earlier on in the video. If he's saving that for little old West Ham, then we're going to need to really impose ourselves on that midfield. So it's a big game for Souček. That being said, I do think Souček, in terms of his defensive qualities, will come more into this game because he'll have more people to tackle, if you know what I mean. I think he can provide himself with a bit of something in there. And obviously, I'd play Lanzini as well for this one because it's just an integral, vital part. Watching Aston Villa play 3-3. Who they play? Leeds. Just looking at the positions that Coutinho picks up and the pass that I think he played a pass to Ramsey, I think, and I just looked at that. That's our guy. We've got one of those who can do that sort of thing. So he has to be in the team.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think at times I wouldn't mind Lanzini being the deeper of the two out of him and Souček. I think Lanzini might be the answer to sort of freeing Souček sometimes because, well, we know what the answer should be, which is Declan Rice remains more disciplined as a defensive midfielder, and that allows Souček. That's just not going to happen. I think we have to accept the fact. I think we have accepted the fact that Moyes just isn't going to implement that, and he's not going to shackle Declan Rice. Whether you agree with it or not is different. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that I've accepted Moyes just won't do that. So I think you've got to then find the next best thing. And I'm not sure what we're doing at the moment with Souček and Rice is the next best thing because there's too many games where he's just completely ineffective, Souček. The game just passes him by. He's almost just there to make up numbers. And that's not right. And to be fair, it's not even fair on Souček. He deserves better than that. He's a better player than that. He should be more important to us than a bit part player. Last season, he was one of our most important players. When we stayed up, he's one of our most important players. This season, he's not. He's not undroppable. And I think that's partly because of the tactics. So I think we almost need to tweak them a little bit so that actually we can get the best out of him. And to get the best out of Souček, you need him in the box. You know, it sounds almost ugly to say you want to get this guy and just cross it to him so he can head the ball. It's a really ugly thing to do and how to set the team up. Unfortunately, it's the truth. That is how you get the best out of Souček. Get him in the opposition box. And to do that, I think you need someone next to Declan Rice. And I think that player could and possibly should be Manuel Lanzini. We've seen Lanzini dropping deep. Arguably, Lanzini plays his better football when he's in behind the attacking midfield, if you like. And he's the one sliding it in between the lines and stuff. So I'd like him in there as well. So I guess the question is who you're dropping. Obviously, Giles Bowen's on the right. Who's your other attacking midfielder?
Well, this is really, really tough. And I'm going to go with Ben Rama, but I'd give him instructions. But because we've got a problem on that side, and we do have a problem on that side. And actually, I think you could almost make the case that nobody does particularly well there. You get the impression Fornals gets played there to protect Cresswell. But not because he's a brilliant left winger. He's not a left winger at all. Vlasic not really working out. And I would say even that there's none of them play to such a high level that even if Moyes might look at it and think there's a reason for playing Masuaku there as a left winger. So I don't think there's anyone elevating themselves above anybody else there particularly. So there's just no one brilliant there. So I'd be choosing Ben Rama, and I'd be saying to Ben Rama, have a little look at that Liverpool game. Have a little look at James Justin, who I know, coming back and whatnot. And have a look at the new fella who Liverpool has. And can I have a bit of that, please? Because you're going to have to be doing something like that. And because what we need to see now is, as I mentioned it, and I will talk about it in tomorrow's video, which is all about Ben Rama, actually. But people have been calling him a one-trick pony, and he's not. He's not a one-trick pony. But I feel he needs to start demonstrating the other things he's got in his repertoire, which is a lot of skills and a lot of things. So actually, I want him to impose his wonderfully skillful game on opposition. I want him between now and the end of the season to make his mark and say, I am the number one for this little problem position. That's probably been a problem position since Felipe Anderson, to be honest with you. This little problem position here, I'm going to make this my, because he ain't getting put in anywhere else. He's not having not for any length of time. He's not going to have Lanzini's position at the end of the season. He's not going to have Antonio's position. He certainly ain't taking Bowen's position. So now's the time. And I feel a little bit bad for him actually, because he had all the I really liked his statement when he went out to play in the African Cup of Nations, which basically I would really enjoy. I really like it if West Ham fans could come and support me in this. It made a world to me. We know he's a nice guy because of how he left Brentford. We know he's well liked, and it turns out that the international manager didn't really fancy him either. So he's now come back. He's got a massive point to prove, both at club and international. And to say to his international manager, "I'm the guy. Get me back in that team." So I want to see him at left back, but I want to. At left wing. But I want the manager to give him confidence and just to say, look, mate, forget all that tracking back stuff. Go and get that fullback on toast and show us some stuff. Beautiful crosses, trickery, get in there, make a nuisance of yourself, wiggle into the area, win a penalty, whatever, don't dive like Yarmolenko, but you know what I mean? Just make a nuisance of yourself because I feel time is running out for all of them.
I would play Fornals for the reasons that you've just said about Benrahma, actually, because we ain't seen that. I don't have confidence in seeing that Benrahma. I want to. There'd be nothing would give us more joy than to do the review on Sunday, give Benrahma man a match because he's scored a goal, set up a goal, whatever. I've just not got any faith that he's going to do that, and for that reason, I would put Fornals in because the difference is, and the problem is, if Benrahma don't show up in an attacking sense, he almost has a bad game automatically. Sure. Whereas if Fornals doesn't show up in an attacking sense, he still has a good one defensively and gets off with it to some extent. It's like that's the minimum you'll get from Fornals, which is does the work rate off the ball. Just on the ball is a bit lacking. And, Benrahma does still do some tracking back. I've seen really good examples of him getting back, but he's just not as good as Fornals at it with his positioning and his pressuring and stuff. So I put Pablo in there, but I think it's an excellent point. And about you said about how Benrahma's only really got this position up for grabs because he's not getting the other one. I think you can almost levy the same at Pablo Fornals to some extent. He may be able to pinch Lanzini's one. I think Fornals is better in field, but I've never really considered the priority, if you like, as a left winger in the summer, and I don't think it is. But I think between now and the end of the season, while I speak about Rodgers having a look at things and trying to work stuff out, I think Moyes could do well with looking at Benrahma, Fornals, and Vlasic and saying, like, one of you need to grab a hold of this position. Otherwise, I need to go get someone because going into next season, well, we need a centre-back, we need a striker. Actually, the starting 11, we have adequate centre-backs and we have an adequate striker. We don't have an adequate left winger, actually. So to some extent, that's our weakness in our starting team. And we're going into this game, and if Leicester were to play Harvey Barnes on the left and Maddison through the middle and Lookman on the right, Leicester have got the better wingers on the pitch than we do. They do. They carry more threat. I'm more confident in Barnes creating something down their left than I am of whoever creating something down our left. And I don't like that. I don't like it. And one player won't be featuring for West Ham is Andrei Yarmolenko, perhaps. Interestingly, he's been on the bench the last few games, including against Watford. But at the time of recording, the under-23s are playing Swansea City, and Andrei Yarmolenko is starting for the under-23s today. So perhaps David Moyes has dropped him from the first team, which would suggest somebody's getting a place in the first team on the bench at least on Sunday for West Ham, but a bit of confusion because Chester's is also starting, as is Okoflex, as is Perkins. So there's no real obvious exclusion from the 23s. So who knows? We'll just have to wait and see till Sunday. But I just thought it was interesting that Andrei Yarmolenko was starting for the 23s on Friday when we have a game on Sunday. You'd imagine he'll be travelling to Leicester tomorrow, Saturday. So we'll wait and see. Are you confident for this one?
Yeah, I am quite actually for this one. Yeah. Yeah, we seem to do well against them. They're a bit at 6s and 7s, and defensively they don't look good. Rodgers even said after the Liverpool game, I think I need to buy another centre half. Not what you want to hear. Well,
they don't have any. Indeed, he's playing there. Of course, they need another one.
I know, but nonetheless, none of you. Sounchu was on the bench. It's probably, if you're him, you don't want to particularly hear it. But I think. Whereas Watford's we won, but a style that's not particularly helpful towards us. I do and have maintained for some time now against Leicester. It can't be a coincidence that we keep on beating them pretty convincingly. And I just think they leave such massive gaps behind them, which just positionally we seem to be able to fill when they vacate their positions to attack us. They move out of the way and we go, whoop, there you go, we'll jump and run in there. So I can see a win tomorrow with some Bowen and Antonio goals, probably, to be honest with you, mate.
I'm quite confident as well. I'm more confident for this one than I was against Watford, funnily enough. I think the reasons I wasn't confident against Watford is because they are organised. They were going to be tough to break down. I don't really have that about Leicester. I watched them get absolutely smashed by Forest last Sunday. It was just embarrassing from a Leicester City's fan standpoint. Every time Forest went on the attack, they looked like they were going to create something. Brennan Johnson is an exciting young talent in the Championship, but he was ripping Leicester's left-hand side to pieces. So don't you almost had to retire after that game? It was just embarrassing from them from start to finish. But what it does do is it just gives David Moyes a blueprint. All Moyes has to do is watch that Nottingham Forest game and say, just copy that, really, don't we? We just take what Nottingham Forest done and we just do that because we can't copy what Liverpool done. Our players aren't good enough. We don't have the same players as Leicester, but we've got better players than what Forest have. We can do what they've done better. We can put more. Also, worst team at set pieces in the league statistically. They've conceded the most goals this season from set pieces, and that was before the Liverpool game when obviously they scored from a corner. Jota opening the scoring from a corner after Van Dijk header was saved. So that's promising news for West Ham fans as well. But yeah, I'm feeling good, Gonzo. It's more, I'll be honest with you, it's more because of Leicester than West Ham. Everything that we said, the reason that we're going to win is because Leicester aren't that great, but we've not sat here saying, our striker's in incredible form, our midfield's in fantastic form, we're going to keep a clean sheet. There's none of that. It's just that Leicester just aren't at the races at the moment, but we do have one of the most informed players in the Premier League in Jared Bowen. Yes. I'm looking forward to the game, actually. Can I get any final words from yourself as well as your score prediction, please?
No, look, sometimes we are, well, not moan, but sometimes you feel the fixture list has gone against you, particularly when everyone else was cancelling their games because of COVID, and we carried on playing, and we had that Norwich Leeds week, which was really tough on us. And yes, we had a moan about that, and rightly so, by the way. Now you feel it's gone in our favour a little bit more. Now the advantage is with us and the disadvantage is with Leicester. So it gives us time to get Antonio back, not fit, but rested and doing whatever they need to do to make him sharp for this game following his trip to play for Jamaica. So I'm hopeful if we get the energy levels right that this should be a good game, but really that's important. High energy levels, because you would imagine they can't match those. Scoreline 3-1.
I think it'll be a tough game. So while we're saying we're confident and stuff, I still think Leicester are a good team. We've done all that. We've praised Leicester enough, praised Brendan Rodgers enough. I think we can sit here and say that we're not too disrespectful. But I think you're right. We have to take advantage of the fact that we played on Tuesday and they played on Thursday. We could have had an extra couple of days on the training ground. We could have had an extra day's rest in comparison to them. Everything is suggesting advantage West Ham on this in terms of preparations for the game. We have to let that be seen on Sunday, and it'll be a good win for West Ham. Actually, we've seen Man United drop points while West Ham are winning as well. Things like these, every game now between now and the end of the season is a big one for us, not just with us, but the teams around us as well. We're going to be, I celebrate when Tottenham got beat by Southampton, not just because it was Tottenham, but also because it was a big result for West Ham. I thought, brilliant, there we go. There's 3 points out of their hands. That whole Tottenham got games in hand. Well, good luck, because you now won your games in hand to make up the 3 points you've just missed out on against Southampton that we won against Watford. Don't make no mistake about it. You've got European football coming up. We've still got the FA Cup game against Southampton coming up as well. But these Premier League games are crucial, because I feel confident we're going to finish in the top 8 of the Premier League. I feel confident that 8th is the worst it's going to get for us. But providing someone in the top 6 wins the FA Cup, only the top 7 get European football. So one of us is going to miss out on European football, and I just hope it's not us. Between now and the end of the season, we've got to make sure we're doing enough to clinch European football for next year. I don't mind what competition it is, to be clear. That Europa Conference League, I'm okay with that. Just want European football next season. And this is a big, big game. This game could have a big say in just how strong our bid to get European football is. I'm going to say Leicester City 1, West Ham United 2. I'm going to go for the 3 points. Well, Gonzo. There you go. If you've enjoyed this preview, drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and on Sunday we will be live our build-up show 1 hour and 5 minutes before kickoff. So make sure you pop along for the build-up show. We'll be taking a look at Leicester's team, West Ham's team, using the One Football app. I'm not going to lie, we will be using that app. And then we'll have a little discussion. It's our most interactive show that we do. So pop along, get involved in live chat. Myself and Gonzo, we'll catch you in a bit.